me back to the place I know, with the mystery shack and the forest gnomes. I'm already packed, so come on, let's go. Don't get me started, my heart's in Gravity Falls.
Wanna clap sync this baby? 3, 2, 1. Woo!
Crunchy.
Crunchy! Welcome to Mystery Shack Look Back, a nostalgic time capsule and no spoiler book club of the original Gravity Falls fandom. We are your curators. I'm Ella.
And I'm Charley. Ow, ow, ow.
All right, the Charmeister. All right. Who do we have with us today?
Who do we have with us today is what that's Pauly Shore to English is what Ella just said.
Wait, I thought you introduce us. We introduce ourselves now?
Well, I think Alexa, as a docent,
because
can
I'm a
introduce.
docent.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like my first day, like my first official day after
Your first
graduating.
full day. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I'm still waiting for my fellow curators to be like, hey, it's okay, you can do that. Because, like,
Right.
you know what I mean?
No, yeah. You show up, you clock in, and just start working. Don't wait for our approval.
Yeah, I'm the person that follows the curators
If
around.
you have time to lean, Alexa.
You have time to clean. Well, actually, what's interesting about you saying that, Alexa, is the rules on docentry, which I don't know if is a real noun. The rules of docentry are that if someone has been on the podcast twice, they graduate into docent. David, you were in the previous episode.
Mm-hmm. And just as I said as I came in, I only agreed to do this podcast as long as I get to be on more episodes than Michael. So,
But do you know what that means for you right now, David? That means that you're gonna graduate.
I get to be a docent?
You're gonna be a docent.
David, please place your right hand. Place one of your hands in the air and one of your hands on journal 3.
Okay.
We don't care which. We're not picky.
I'm absolutely doing that with my hands right now, 100%.
Okay.
We all do it.
Repeat after me. I said repeat after me.
I'm going to. You want me to say repeat after me?
Perfect. All right. You got that
Okay.
part.
What a docent noob.
I state your name.
I, David Spencer,
Do solemnly swear to uphold
do solemnly swear to uphold
the duties of a Mystery Shack Look Back docent.
the duties of a Mystery Shack Look Back docent.
I like the energy. To preserve the history
To preserve the history
and protect the mystery
and protect the mystery
of the Gravity Falls fandom.
of the Gravity Falls fandom.
To guard the Hall of Conspiracies
To guard the Hall of Conspiracies
so no one steals any
so no one steals any
and sells them to an uninformed conspirator at a significant markup.
and sells them to an uninformed conspirator at a significant markup.
And I vow to share my streaming passwords with Ella and Charley.
And I vow to share all of my streaming passwords with Ella and Charley, just as Ella and Charley will share their streaming passwords with me.
I don't remember writing that part.
No, it's in here. It's right here.
It's right. Oh my God, it is. It's interesting to me that it is handwritten and the rest is typed, though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, if it was said and the hand was on the book and everything, I mean, we're bound to that. So.
Mhm.
All right. I don't know what streaming services we have that you don't.
Let's just put them all in a pile. It'll be like a key party. We'll just put all our passwords in a bowl.
Which ones are you missing, David?
I'm definitely missing Flurmple Plus.
Flurmple Plus. That's a good one.
Okay, well you're not getting my Quibi password.
Oh.
We can discuss maybe my Amazon Prime password, but I'm not letting go of my Yahoo Screen account
I know that's the only way to watch.
to watch Community Season 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not anymore. That season 6 is on Netflix too.
Aw, it ruins the magic.
Oh my god, what? You're saying that the one ad that Yahoo Screen put before each entire 22-minute episode of Community?
You're saying that wasn't a sustainable business model?
Do you recall that? Am I misremembering this, or was there only like one ad before it, like a YouTube video?
That feels true. I just remember watching, the only way I could watch that season at the time was just on my tiny laptop screen off of crummy laptop speakers, and it definitely hurt the show. Was this on subject?
It feels like something kind of big happened last week. I don't remember what it was, and I don't really care.
I remember. It was Krasen and Xyler.
Oh, that's right. This week they're gonna have their Bodexcellent Rad Ventures this week.
All right, Alexa, give us a serious answer. What was the cliffhanger in the last episode?
Okay, the cliffhanger of the last episode was the Mystery Shack was supposedly no more.
Yes, and Gideon Rises
Mm-hmm.
is the 20th episode of the first season of Gravity Falls, and the second part of the two-part season 1 finale. It premiered on August 2nd, 2013 on the Gisnep channel.
Which, for context, is like we said, a few weeks after.
It was directed by John Aoshima and Joe Pitt, written by Alex Hirsch, Michael Rionda, and some guy named Matt Chapman.
Is this the same summer that Dark Knight Rises came out? In which case, does that mean we're getting 2 Christopher Nolan parodies in a row?
Dark Knight Rises is a parody of Christopher Nolan.
Gideon Rises is a parody of Dark Knight Rises, and the last episode was Inception.
Yeah, so Gideon's just gonna throw Dipper and Mabel into a hole, and that's gonna be half the episode.
I want to hear a straight Gideon doing Bane lines.
All right, here, let me look up some Bane lines. All right, ready? All right, here we go. No one cared who I was till I put on this big ol' hair.
Perfect.
Theatricality and deception are powerful agents to the uninitiated. That could actually be a Gideon
That sounds
line.
like a Gideon line, 100%.
I can't believe David said he's not a very good podcast guest and then gave us this absolute gem.
The powerful will be ripped from their decadent nests and cast out into the cold world that we know and endure.
Holy crap, this is so good.
Ella, save the rest for when we set up our Patreon. Let's put these behind a paywall. These are too good to give out for free.
Yeah, you're right. All right, so yes, for context, this episode, the true finale of season 1 aired about 3 weeks after Dreamscapers. So now you get to watch it immediately after watching Dreamscapers. So I just want David and Alexa to understand the privileged position that they are in, being able to watch this immediately after Dreamscapers.
And for the viewers, getting able to listen to it only 1 week after.
That's true.
Like, we keep saying viewers. If you're watching the podcast, that's fine. We're not going to yell at you.
If you're watching the podcast, you're doing it wrong.
No, look, there's no wrong way to appreciate a podcast. And if looking at something visual helps, that's fine. However,
I do put a lot of effort into these thumbnails. I think, you know.
Oh, see, I thought that, like, if somebody watching the podcast was, like, meant that they were somehow watching our faces as we record this right now, and I don't know if I'm okay with that.
That'd be cute, but a little creepy.
oh, by the way, speaking of which, David, can you put on your webcam so we can watch your reactions to the film?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, cool.
Friday, August 2nd.
Kids, you're going home.
It's the season finale of Gravity Falls. Gideon stole the shack.
I give you Gideon Land!
Are Dipper and Mabel really leaving?
Look, Mr. Bus Driver!
It's an episode so full of secrets, you have to watch until the very end.
This is normal.
Don't miss Gravity Falls, Friday, August 2nd at 8:30, 7:30 Central on Disney Channel.
Wow, gang, we just watched Gideon Rises. Hey,
David, Alexa, what did you think of this?
Hey, Alexa.
And me.
What do you think of this?
Okay. I was really okay. My theory was crushed. Stan did not write those books. At least I don't think so. Oh, I mean, there wasn't really a confirmation on it, but he at least knew about it.
It was a roller coaster, right?
It was. Again, I have a theory. Again, as someone who's never seen this before, that the map is leading to somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got to be. I still want to believe that it's someone from Stan's past.
All right.
And I still like to think it was the love of his life.
Mm.
Because that's me. I'm a romantic that way.
So does that mean he's pulling a kingpin?
Yes.
And he's trying to like pull in the love of his life from an alternate dimension?
I was gonna say Hank Pym.
Hank Pym, yeah.
Oh.
Alexa, I saw you were incredibly emotional when they were like heading home for California.
I seriously thought what was good. Well, first of all, I have a lot of fear. I was like, why isn't Stan going with you? He's also family. Because I'm pretty sure the California parents, whoever they are, would totally, house Stan if he was struggling.
I mean, he is Grunkle Stan. Keep in mind.
True. It's just that Grunkle Stan also housed their children.
Yeah.
So I would like to think,
Good point.
Yeah. And so I got really sad about that. As much as I have some issues with the way Grunkle Stan handles things, that made me sad a little bit.
Well, I think it is that he literally says, like, he does not feel capable to look after them. So I don't think it's like he's almost like pushing them out of his life to protect them.
I know.
Which is really sad.
It's just really sad.
Alexa has her webcam on. She is actually tearing up a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
I guess I'll get this out of the way then, since you bring it up. I love that you really track the progression, something I talked about a little in Land Before Swine, but here it really comes full circle from the ending of Tourist chapters. Like, just take something from the gift shop. I don't care. Whatever. I overstocked, so just take something. Like, that very backhanded Heart of Gold is a secret thing, and now he's very openly like, hey, you guys settling back in okay? Everything. Like, he's very just openly caring about them, and I get emotional every time at this very real adult moment where Stan realizes he cannot support them anymore. It's, I don't know, like, it is heartbreaking.
I think this is a type of trope that still works for me, is the man who was like, I don't really care about you that much, but I really do, and I'm showing you through my actions that I care about you, even if I look like a grump,
Yeah, the melting of the icy heart is always a good one. And it's the fact that that it's Gravity Falls, and it's like there's monsters out there, there's all kinds of mortal terrors, but nothing feels as scary as when he's like, oh yeah, we got plenty to eat, and he like pulls out his empty pockets, and
yeah,
that's real like that's
I was like, okay, you decided to bring on the tears for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like you made sure to show the struggle. And that was especially seeing the Mabel's friends crying. I think that broke me a lot more too.
Yeah, for sure.
I love friendships.
Candy and Grenda holding each other as the bus pulls away.
Because they're not in this episode. Otherwise, it's just this reminder of like, oh yeah, she's leaving
They're leaving friends behind. And then
yeah.
Wendy is not going to be able to stay in Gravity Falls if she cannot work at the shack.
Mm-hmm.
Where the episode starts is the Pines family is forced to move in with Seuss, who lives with his grandmother in a pretty rundown house, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't call it it's a functional house. It's just not for it's for two people, not for.
Well, I mean, there is a shot of like a exposed wire killing a cockroach.
That's true. Oh, we call that the shock wire. I call it that because if you touch it, you die. Yes, that's accurate.
We meet Seuss's grandmother. He calls her abuelita. It's Spanish for little grandmother. Much like the last Mexican character we've met, she is voiced by Matt Chapman as a reference to Strongbad's original voice, which leaned into the luchador aspect more.
Which he probably shouldn't have. No, let's not say probably. He shouldn't have been doing.
I do love that we all physically cringed when that happened.
Yeah. Well, there's a little more to it, right?
So what it is there is a storyboarder named Alonso Ramirez Ramos. Someone in our Discord said he basically carried the show. They say he cracked Seuss. He was the one who really figured out how to make Seuss fun to animate.
Oh.
And he also did such good storyboards of the pterodactyl that they could not trust the overseas animation and had to get James Baxter to animate it. And Alonso is Mexican.
Mhm.
And he was very insistent that Seuss be confirmed as canonical Mexican instead of ambiguous Latino.
Mhm.
And the character of Abuelita is solely Alonso's creation. So this is something that is coming from a Mexican staff member.
Mhm.
I have a theory that Abuelita's voice is an impression of Alonso. Because he has a pretty squeaky voice, and whenever in the commentaries they quote him, they kind of go falsetto to try to sound like him, and it's really close to the Abuelita voice. As well as in one commentary, Alonso quotes Abuelita, and it is identical to Matt's take on the voice. So I almost wonder if Alonso, the creator of this character and an actual Mexican, was supposed to voice this character, but because he's an artist and thus wouldn't have a SAG membership, maybe the guild said no.
Yeah. So they got a white man to do it.
Because you had already done
Right,
several voices. Several voices, in fact.
Yeah, I know. It's hard for me to talk about, I mean, being a person of color and just seeing time and time again, characters that were meant to be people of color being voiced by white people. But again, I've mentioned this a couple times in real life. So that's what I have to say about that. I'm trying not to be a total downer.
I don't think it was made with ill intent. I think it was really the reason that Matt Chapman voices both Mermando and Abuelita is that they wanted him to basically do Strong Bad.
But I like the idea that it was a second resort rather than
the actual plan. Yeah, I mean, that's also something that I have to go into as I talk about content that happened in the past. Like, I am here to also make peace with that, but I'm also here to call it out anyway. So
Absolutely,
it's just,
absolutely.
I'm always in this, again, I'm not trying to be, middle ground on it because I have very strong feelings about it. But of course, I also am being realistic in the fact that this was made during a time where, people just found this to be a normal thing. But of course, I'm looking at it with the lens of today. So
yeah, but it wasn't okay then, and it's
yeah, it was never okay. Yeah, absolutely.
The way to move forward and to make everything better is for the well-meaning people to also be educated that, hey, this isn't okay and don't do it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I am. This was not okay ever, and let's not ever do it in the future ever again. And the thing is,
and then it never happened ever again.
Hopefully.
She's probably based on Alonso's grandma. Alonso created her. He does the voice flawlessly. There is very little reason that she is not voiced by Alonso.
It's just that because I actually love Abuelita as a character in general.
Same, yes.
Yeah, just who she is as a person.
She's
love
very chill about most things.
Yeah, she's very sweet.
I mean, to be fair, Seuss is also very chill about most
and I imagine
things.
she probably has been conditioned to not really react to the other members of the Pines family because she lives with Seuss.
Probably when he gets home from work every day, he tells her about crazy things that Grunkle Stan did.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's just happy to hear about them. She's like, "Oh."
Yeah.
I just feel like she's got a backstory where she worked for somebody who was just as eccentric as Grunkle Stan when she was Seuss's age. And it's just this is just the way it goes.
It's like poetry, sort of. It rhymes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty clearly implied that she is an immigrant. So now I'm picturing international Grunkle Stans.
Oh, there's one in every country.
And then that guy ended up in a prison in America for a short amount of time.
Oh, I got coffee imported from America. Whoa! I went to jail there once. So David, what were your overall thoughts on the episode?
I liked it a lot. I love the way the grappling hook came in to save the day at the very end. That was I'm always a sucker for a good setup and payoff, and that was definitely a perfect moment of tension for me, where it was like, oh, how did they make it out? And then realizing that it was the grappling hook seconds before.
Maybe we weren't perfectly synced up, but from my screen, David said, the grappling hook, a frame before it showed up.
Yeah, that's definitely how it was when I was watching it. I was just it was just long enough for me to figure out what was going to save them. And then sure enough.
Because it's such a big shot. It's really beautiful, the way they change up the lighting when that robot explodes, and that... Yeah, there's so much heart put into the visuals that I think that helps sell the fake out of it. That it's this is a big, it's not an obvious fake out death.
The funny part was that they it's almost as if they were being very heavy handed when it came to the grappling hook. They were saying oh yeah, that's never saved us before.
They're saying Chekhov, your gun is completely useless.
Chekhov, put down your stupid gun. We hate that gun. We hate when you bring it with us.
Yeah. Chekhov, why is that gun on the wall? It's just hanging there doing nothing. What are you ever going to do with it?
Go bring that gun to the pawn shop already, Chekhov. We've talked about this.
Ow! Well, hey, you used it. It's in my shoulder now.
I'm so proud of you, Chekhov.
This came out about a week after the Comic-Con panel. They did play the clip where Mabel takes out her grappling hook again.
They played basically the entire cold open at San Diego Comic-Con in 2013.
And I want to play the audience reaction to Mabel taking out the grappling hook.
I'll be Gideon with my grappling hook!
That grappling hook has literally never helped us once.
And then I also would like to play Alexa's reaction, which is similar, although from one person.
I'll defeat Gideon with my grappling hook!
It's back.
Yeah.
No offense, but that grappling hook has literally never helped us once.
Also at this panel, the cast did a little table read of a fun little skit that they had written up called "The Pines Family Goes to Comic-Con." It's a really it's a lovely little bit. We'll link it in the description. But what I want to... So Jason Ritter has brought along his Dipper hat, and I think he's in full cosplay. He might be. I don't really remember. As Dipper, yeah. Kristen Shaw has a sweater for Mabel, and so the moderator, Matt Chapman, asks Alex, what do you have to get in character? So David and Alexa, look at what's in the Discord. So Alex Hirsch brought along a puppet Grunkle Stan.
Alex, on his own dime, this wasn't something Disney allotted him a budget for. Alex, with his own money, commissioned a full Muppet-style Grunkle Stan puppet with even like the glove.
Yeah, he's a live hand puppet too. He's got a.
The funny thing is, you say Muppet style, but that mouth is not Muppet style. That mouth has that jointed. There's only one other puppet I can think of that has a mouth like that, and the puppet I'm thinking of is the Strong Bad puppet.
No, exactly. That's why I wanted to bring it up in this episode to you, because this is not... Puppet Stan becomes kind of a recurring thing in promotional material, not unlike how the Homestar puppets become recurring appearing characters.
And I will say, this is referencing future episodes, so I'll make it vague. As Alex gets more money from having the show on longer, he commissions more puppets. And whenever there need to be two puppets on screen at the same time, for whatever reason, he always has Matt do the other puppet.
And I don't doubt that the reason he thought of this idea to bring his cartoon character to the real world via a puppet was Homestar inspired.
Yeah. It was David who said to say Alex Hirsch is a fan of Homestar Runner is an understatement.
Yes.
Which is why Matt voices every Mexican.
I want to talk a little bit about where I first watched this episode, because although I must confess that I lied in the last episode when I said that I watched it inside my great uncle's mindscape. I just watched it at my great uncle's house. That that part is true, which I
Same
think
thing,
is
yeah.
kind of cool. I'm like, all right, I'm literally at my grunkle's house. And I remember we went out to dinner the night that it aired, so I had it, kids, back in, there was a thing called DVR, and that was when your cable box recorded. I had it recorded while we were out, and then we ended up getting back super late, so it was like everyone else had gone to sleep. And I think it was like midnight that I was watching this.
And then you screamed at the end.
Yeah, basically. No, and the other thing is, I think my mom sat down to watch with me because she vaguely knew about Gravity Falls, but like, this was the first episode of Gravity Falls that she watched. And I was like, this is kind of a terrible entrance. Because we got to that last scene and she was like, okay. And I was like, no, you don't understand. This changes everything. Oh my god, I gotta. I was like, oh yeah, I was scouring the internet immediately, and it was like 1 a.m.
Yeah, so and we've never done this before, but I think it is appropriate to say the cryptogram relating to what we see at the end. So there, on the page of the portal has a blueprints that are separated between the 3 books. On the Journal 3 page, there's a cryptogram that reads, "The portal, when completed, will open a gateway to infinite new worlds and herald a new era in mankind's understanding of the universe. Plus, it will probably get girls to start talking to me finally." And that is in the symbol cipher. So yes, that thing at the end is a portal, and I think the reason I needed to read that, Ella, is they didn't know what it was, and that is confirmed in the episode, albeit not in something you could notice immediately.
Yeah.
But the fans talked about it. There is a portal underneath the Mystery Shack, and that is what is behind the vending machine. We finally learned that is the mystery that is set up at the end of the first episode, and at the end of season 1, it is finally revealed. David was saying this isn't as continuity driven as he was expecting, given how the fans talk about it. Part of that is, this is still pre-streaming. So they still had to understand that Disney Channel would air these in a random order on rerun time slots. And that might be someone's first time seeing an episode.
Yeah, like my mom.
Disney episodes, they couldn't argue against a 20 episode order. That was just how a season was going to work. And basically, I mean, the mysteries of season 1 are, why does the journal say 3 on it? What's behind the vending machine? Mm-hmm. That's like it.
As far as ones that get answered.
Yeah, that get answered in season 1. And why does the journal say 3 on it is answered in episode 4 when we see Gideon has journal 2. And what's behind the vending machine doesn't get answered until now, which is also where we first see Journal 1 for the first time in the series.
It's the kind of answer that, again, back to Futurama, just raises further questions.
Yeah. But so the Journal 1 in Stan's possession is very old and weathered and used in a way that 2 and 3, which have been hiding until Dipper and presumably Gideon, or whoever Gideon got it from.
Yeah, Journal 1 has like a chunk out of the cover that 2 and 3 are intact.
And when Stan says finally after all these years, and you see the weathered Journal 1, well, let's say, Alexa, fill in that gap.
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to think that everything in the Mystery Shack had something to do with that book. Like, anything that he found ended up in the Mystery Shack somehow as an attraction. That's how I feel, because that is probably the best way to hide the fact that you're doing something sneaky, is just show it to the public and be like, oh yeah, isn't this funny?
Hide in plain sight.
Exactly, hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
And what way to do that? And also to get some money on, just in case he needs to save up to adventure some more to find those other 2 books. I'd like to, yeah.
Or to, pay for the electric bill it would keep to get a portal that big running.
I mean, it explains why he's so grunkle all the time, because
he's so grunkle.
He's so grunkle because every night he's going into that vending machine to read another page to find another clue somehow, or maybe discover something new. Like most of his adventures probably happen at night. So when another adventure happens during the day, thanks to Dipper, he's going to be angry about it.
Stan's adventures are not as TVY7, of course.
You had some thoughts about the scene where Dipper tells the truth to Stan I noticed. You had some feelings.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Oh, yeah, I was having so many feelings because I wanted Stan to say, I wrote it. It was me. I am Grunkle Stan, and I wrote this journal because that was my first theory.
You wanted him to say that exact
I wanted him to say it exactly. And I knew...
You wanted Grunkle Stan to say to Dipper, I am Grunkle Stan, and Dipper to go, okay?
I, Grunkle Stan, am the writer of this journal that you are mentioning in your speech right now. And I knew that he knew about it because of the way he was reacting to it. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, you know about this journal. And I know that Dipper is like pouring his heart out, but you know exactly what this journal is because you wrote it. And of course, I didn't get that. I didn't get my win because as you've all seen that I like to win.
Again, they jerk us around really effectively where it's like, I'm glad you showed me this. And there's this like, I don't even know like what instrument it is, but it's like there's this really striking beat when he closes the book and it's punctuated very dramatically. And then he just bursts out laughing and tries to play it off.
Glad you showed me this, Dipper. Now I know where you've been getting it all from.
Real quick, do we know or think that all three journals are written by the same person?
We do
Good
not.
question. We don't know for sure.
And now I think that they're not. Yeah.
The author of Journal 2 was like, hey, here's how to get Bill Cipher. And Journal 3 was like, whatever you do, don't get Bill Cipher.
Yeah.
Gideon seemed to think that it was one person, but Gideon is also a very egotistical person.
Yeah, and he does kind of tell the story about the journals being written in sort of a stylized flashback here.
But we can't necessarily trust his account. He only has part of the story. He didn't even know there were 3 journals.
Also, he's Gideon. You can never trust him.
Exactly.
If they were written in order 1, 2, 3.
Oh, so you're saying the author in book 2 was like, hey, here's Bill Cipher, and then things went off with Bill Cipher, and then time for book 3, who's like, just kidding.
But what you're saying is that maybe that it's a separate person who is...
That's also, I mean,
buddies with
they would
Bill,
have to
and
have
then
collaborated to some extent because the blueprints for the portal line up.
Okay, I have a theory.
Yes.
Okay.
Aliens. Okay, so aliens.
Okay.
Let me explain.
Yes, explain.
I think that Gargle Stan and his 2 friends, they all 3 of them might be some kind of aliens of some sort, and they all had to go into hiding. And Stan chose to stay on Earth. And they all wrote something. And they're like, okay, if we need to find each other again, put these books together and you'll find us. I was like, oh, interesting. Because Grunkle Stan's been looking for somebody. Or, I don't know, some people maybe. And it's very possible that 3 people wrote these books. And they're all like, okay, but we can't show where we all came from. And I still have that thought in my head of Grunkle Stan is not who he seems, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going off of that theory. Again, I'm going way off here because I like to,
I don't know. Literally anything can happen at this point, which is what got me so excited about the ending of this episode is like, that could be anything.
Exactly.
But
So aliens is my new theory.
I think part of the reason, particularly in the Gravity Falls fandom and Steven Universe fandom to a similar extent, part of the hatred for this quote-unquote filler is exacerbated by long hiatuses. Because if you are waiting and waiting and waiting and wanting to get some development in the story before you inevitably wait more, to have it just be a light episode is like, if it was a consistent airing schedule, it's like, okay, yeah, that was a good episode. We're chugging through. But when it's the only crumb that you have, I understand the frustration. I think in hindsight, though, when you're watching it all and at your leisure, it totally works. I don't understand the complaints in a streaming world.
Well, I also feel like those quote-unquote filler episodes tend to be the best times for us to learn things about characters and that kind of character growth when everything slows down.
I corrected people when Gravity Falls was airing. I corrected people when they said filler episodes, and I said character episodes.
See, it's like, I mean, Community isn't a show known for continuity, but one of my favorite episodes of that show is one of the most hated, which is Mixology Certification, which is where everybody goes and tries to celebrate Troy's 21st birthday, and is widely known as the episode with no jokes. that isn't funny. But for me, it's one of the best episodes of the entire series because we get to learn so much about those characters.
I love that episode. I didn't know that one was hated.
Oh yeah,
That's
a lot
the
of
one
fans
with Paul F. Tompkins in it,
Yep.
and Tig Notaro.
Yep.
Uh,
And my favorite episode of Community is another one that a lot of people don't like, which is Critical Film Studies, which is the My Dinner with Andre, Dinner with Abed.
Wait, people don't like that one either?
People don't like that one either.
I'm really glad I don't know a lot of Community
Yeah.
films.
People are dumb.
No.
Yeah, no taste. Before we get into the heavy theory stuff, I want to just do a blitz down the list of my favorite stupid jokes in this episode. File photo jokes, always a hit. Always a hit on The Simpsons, equally on Gravity Falls.
Yeah, Stan, when they say Area Shyster, Stanford Pines, they show a picture of him dressed as Satan and laughing maniacally.
Well, and having queued it up with the fact that it's a picture of Gideon hugging puppies.
And Stan says,
That picture's taken out of
it
context.
sounds like, according to Stan, there was a perfectly logical reason he was dressed as Satan and laughing maniacally.
And then there's a fantastic delivery by Thurup as Gideon when he's kicking them out of Gideon Land.
Professor Gideon Land, friends! Don't come back. I don't care for y'all.
Oh, and I love that Alexa called that the gnomes were about to come back. I'll play the clip of her doing that real
To
quick.
defeat those guards, we need some kind of army.
The gnomes.
Wait a minute. An army. Mabel, that's it. The gnomes.
I was right.
The gnomes vowed they would be back at the end of episode 1, and hey,
They did come back.
Not by their choice, but
I think for me the funniest parts of this were there was so many great visual gags. I mean, speaking of the gnomes, the squirrel bath is incredible,
using the gnomes as tranquilizer darts is great.
and every single picture in Seuss's house
Yes.
is a piece of art.
I was just
Pensive
screenshotting
Seuss.
them as we were watching and sending them to the group.
Yeah.
It is funny in the fact that just the way that the photos are done, like the Seuss is like posing in them, and again,
Like it was done at a studio, at a photo. What is it? Like in the mall, you would go and
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
honestly, like in a Filipino household, that's honestly I've seen that so many times as a kid, and I think that's what made me laugh the most. I just
Then maybe that's an
Alonzo thing?
Alonzo did help
Yeah.
board this episode. Maybe that's something his family has.
That's also really sweet because like Abuelita's house is just covered in photos of Seuss. Like that's the only
absolute
thing.
pride that Abuelita has in Seuss, and like she just loves she just thinks that he's the best thing in the world. And of course, Baby Seuss is like the best.
And, well, Alexa, she doesn't think he's the best thing in the world. That's not a matter of opinion.
That's right, she knows.
She knows.
We get the return of Bud Gleeful's clown painting that Stan stole and hung in the Mystery Shack, and we see Bud is taking it back when they take over the Mystery Shack.
I was about to mention Gideon's merch.
Yeah, his Gideon popsicle, the crappy popsicles.
I just love that we kind of called it too. We said something about
That's
there was
right.
going to be
You
Gideon
did.
merch, and just to be like totally honest, I want all of the Gideon merch. I wanted that pin minus the camera, but I wanted it all.
Yeah, and Alexa, as a fellow Disney Parks fan,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
the obligatory Disneyland references of like we're building the magic, and it's like
Yeah, the magic being just thrown around without to the extent that it loses meaning.
And Bud Gleeful is not in this episode much, but my favorite moment is when Gideon believes he has found journal number 1. It's actually journal number 3, but he runs into the shack and yells at his parents, "Get out!" And Bud makes the most hilarious, pathetic little noise. He's like, "Get out!" Yeah. They also got away with Stan asking for expired apple cider.
He asks for hard cider. He gets Angry Orchard, basically. And the way they get away with that is just specifically requesting regular apple cider that has expired at the diner. And it's like, it's an extreme technicality. You can get drunk off of that.
Oh.
We get a reveal of the name of the biker voiced by Will Forte. That his name is Tyler, and he says, "Get him."
His catchphrase.
Now he's very sad about it, unfortunately.
Get him.
So the end credits of the original airing of this episode had a Grunkle Stan voiceover saying,
Gravity Falls will return.
and I don't know about any of you listeners who were there for that, but I got goosebumps. It's just the, that's the kind of thing they would do on like a real drama, you know?
Or, Gravity Falls will be right back after this.
Funding for Gravity Falls, closed captioning, and other considerations provided by
Johnson & Johnson. And by viewers like you.
Fortunately, it looks like little Gideon has taken over the Hall of Conspiracies today.
Is it now like the Hall of Presidents of Gideon Land?
Ladies and gentlemen, right this way to the Hall of Gideon!
I'm also hoping that in the spirit of Gravity Falls True History, they have a Hall of Half Presidents.
Yes. This is from gravityfallsconspiracies.tumblr.com, submitted by Midnight Revelation. In Stan's underground lab, we see a lot of monitoring technology. Most of it seems innocuous, but if you look closely, you can see a periscope attached to a totem pole. It's safe to assume that this is the same totem pole outside of the shack, and it's equally safe to assume that Stan knows everything. Also, the reason why Stan realized Gideon had surveillance on everyone had to be because the interference to his hearing aid caused by Gideon's tech is the same type of interference he must receive when he is around his own tech underground.
This one was also on Gravity Falls Conspiracies. It was submitted by our friend Anonymous. It says, remember the negative $12 bill Dipper got from Quentin Tremblay?
Speaking of half presidents.
What if Dipper put the dollar bill in the vending machine Grunkle Stan disappeared into in the first episode?
What if you put the key that unlocks every door in America into the vending machine?
With no... Yeah, this next post, for context, is from Bambi Syndrome, Tumblr user.
So describe what you're seeing and then read the caption.
Oh, so, okay, what I see is two cliffs, and in the middle, where there's like a huge hole in the middle, and it's creating a UFO type shape. So interesting. I said aliens earlier. Okay.
You did say aliens.
Look, we've established this. Alexa's always right.
Yeah, I mean,
Alexa never intends to be right because TV is not a contest, but if it were...
Alexa would win.
I would win. Like, I mean, I think we all know this from Come On Fahuga Pots and Molly's right, but here we go. Let's see. So it says here, may explain why there is such a touchy government going on here. Am I allowed to say that?
We'll censor it. It's fine.
Government, yeah!
And might explain how the multiverse portal exists in the first place. Aliens!
Ooh. We have another one from Midnight Revelation submitted to Gravity Falls Conspiracies. There are diagrams and schematics of black holes on Stan's underground lab desk. That machine may very well be a black hole generator, which could lead to other conjecture about ungoverned time travel next season. Or in keeping with the black hole generator theme, it could be a trans-dimensional gateway to some possibly world-ending power, which Gideon did mention something about unimaginable power.
I gotta say, I don't know how I feel about, like, it being aliens or something, because I kind of like that the mysteries in this are more of a fantasy nature than of a sci-fi nature. Like, obviously, we have had some sci-fi aspects with, like, the time travel episode and stuff, but I don't know. With gnomes and everything, I kind of like there being more of a fantasy element to it than...
Yeah, maybe it's the Adventure Zone Amnesty.
So David and Alexa, this post from the Gravity Falls blog, yes, that is their username, is a screenshot. Why don't you describe what we're seeing here?
Well, we've got a police car, and we have a bald dude circled who looks an awful like Blandon.
Stan is about to crash into the cop car, good for him, and expose Gideon as a fraud. But right before that, we do see, for a few frames,
Blandon.
So maybe we are getting a little more into sci-fi, David?
Or maybe it's just a random Easter egg that they're going to throw in there.
I think Blandon just wants to experience certain events multiple times because he just has so much fun.
I love love this episode. Oh, this is a good one.
Yeah, he read about this point in history, and he's like, a robot? That sounds so cool! Oh, and then it blows up? Oh my gosh, I have to see this!
I do like the idea of time travelers just going through history and watching things like it's a TV show, and just like obsessing over their fandom of different historical figures.
Wait, so you're saying that like a kind of a time capsule of a fandom? Don't be silly. This episode majorly ups the ante on cryptograms.
There are
There's a
so
lot
many
more...
because
yeah,
I'm just gonna say this. They people had a while to look over this episode before another one aired. Ellis has asked me not to say how long yet.
yeah. I think we'll leave it as a question for now.
But yeah, so there's a lot of tidbits to munch on until they get more content.
Love tidbits.
Speaking of munching on tidbits, the squash with human face and emotions page of Journal 3 has in the symbol cipher text that says, "Don't eat him." So I guess we can't munch on that one.
When we there's that shot where we pan down from the twins' room to the vending machine right before we follow Stan, and in the floorboards there's a pipe, and carved into it is a Caesar cipher code that translates to "Bill is watching."
The possible hiding spots page in the credits montage reads, "Reverse the ciphers in A1Z26." That's the one where A is 1 and Z is 26. This tells us how to solve the credits cryptogram using a combination of the 3 ciphers we've been taught thus far. The ones that are in the theme song. So not counting symbol cipher.
Yeah, so first we used Caesar cipher, 3 letters back. Then we were taught @bash cipher, switch A and Z. Then we were taught A1Z26. So this is basically saying that you have to use those 3 ciphers
in the opposite order that they appeared in the theme song.
Correct.
Okay.
So in the intro, this is already a long episode. Let's just say it.
The credits cryptogram reads, "Search for the blind eye."
Search for the blind eye. Wait a minute. Lazy Susan? Lazy Susan.
Now that you mention it, there's a theory from Triangle Leaves submitted to Gravity Falls Conspiracies talking about this code. This struck me as odd, and it got me thinking about how a lot of things in the show seem to revolve around one eye. Stan sometimes wears an eye patch. Lazy Susan has a lazy eye. Bill has one eye. Birch trees, seen in Dreamscapers, have a single eye pattern on them.
Which David even acknowledged while we were
That's
watching
true.
that part.
Yep. The journal has a monocle, like glasses, but for one eye. We've all seen how Old Man McGucket's eyes seem to wander. He's got kind of wall eyes. But what if one of them is actually looking in the right direction and the other isn't real?
Don't say the other isn't real. Just call it glass. I don't like eye isn't real. That's bad.
How can we be real if our eyes aren't real? So maybe covering one eye is symbolic, and it has to do with the secret society that's been teased.
So the answer to this whole thing is Count Olaf.
So if you will follow me down a second, even deeper rabbit hole for a second.
If you'll listen, it turns out there's a hallway in the Hall of Conspiracies.
Yes, turns out there's a donut in the donut hole.
And the donut's hole was not whole.
So on August 1st, 2013, which was a day before the TV premiere of Gideon Rises, although there were leaks of the episode, not real leaks, just on demand, kind of put it up early. There was a site that was launched called searchfortheblindeye.com. And it's already very interesting that it was up before the TV premiere. The website content was just a black screen, a floating GIF of Bill Cipher with text that in the combination cipher translated to October 1st. And this is all so ominous because it was set to that music from the credits of Dreamscapers that you wanted to listen to, David. So imagine that and just a floating GIF of Bill and the words October 1st. That's what we had to pour over from this point forward. Yeah, nobody knew what the deal with this was. No one official was acknowledging it. It was just a big old...
It was a big conversation. Like, is this Disney affiliated or not?
2-month conversation, right? Because
2 months.
we're all just, yeah. August 1st to October 1st.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 2 months? Yeah, do you think, Alexa? You think?
I've done theories for that long. I can feel that pain.
No, not 2 months. That's,
No, that's what I'm saying.
you kind of undershot it there. You want to give us another guess?
Okay, was it an entire year?
You shot 1 day ahead.
I-
It was 364 days
I was
until
so
the next
close.
episode of Gravity Falls.
Oh, dang. Okay. That's painful, I have to say. Like,
yes, it was!
I would
We are
say,
entitled to a veteran's discount.
I'm pretty sure I've waited like probably 3 months at most, and that was a lot. That was a lot.
Oh, 3 months. I have a very small violin. Would you like me to play the Gravity Falls theme song?
I mean, that's not entirely true because whenever we would watch a show on Netflix, it was a year between
Yeah, but then I
seasons.
moved
so.
on. Like, I moved on to the next show.
That's true. That's
to
true.
forget my
yeah,
pain.
Gravity Falls fans historically are incapable of moving on.
That's why we have a podcast that came out almost 10 years after the show premiered, and our listenership has been pretty good lately. We've seen more activity in our Discord server. If you want to find that Discord server, there is a link to it on our host network, pipedreampodcasts.com.
Hey.
Where you can also find the other episodes of this podcast. What else is on that website, David?
Well, if you go to pipedreampodcast.com, you can also find shows that I am a host on, like How Did This Not Get Made, or a show that myself and Alexa are a host on, like Come on Fahuquapods,
Hey, I'm in that.
as well as Escape from Vault Disney if you want to watch more random things on Disney+.
Yeah, and that's a fantastic show. Love Tony Goldmark. Loved having him on. We also have a Twitter. We have an Instagram. They can be found there. We have an email, mysteryshacklookback@gmail.com. We want to know, how did you spend the gap between season 1 and season 2?
And how did you feel right as that end scene of Gideon Rises?
Please send us your emails or message us in the Discord. We're trying to collect, basically we're trying to distill the fan experience into a singular one on this podcast, which is not exactly how it worked. Hence the word curator.
So I spent that hiatus between the 2013 and 2014 meeting and starting to date Alexa.
And you were blissfully unaware.
And Ella and I spent it suffering.
If only people like just experienced our love story blossoming, they would have helped ease
You're
the
right,
pain.
they could have been enthralled by that.
I'd watch a
you're right.
cartoon about it.
Thank you to Brian Bryan for making the instrumental to our theme song. The Hall of Conspiracies theme song is Lentil Dentist, a remix of our first episode by Sim and the Dim Bulb V2-0. You can listen to the full thing at the link in the description. It is awesome. Thank you to David and Alexa for coming back onto our show. We're so happy that you're both docents now.
Yeah, thank you for having us. What an honor.
Oh, thank you for having me.
There was this weird kind of imbalance in your relationship last episode when Alexa was a docent, but David wasn't.
You know, sometimes I have to hold the power a little bit, and then I eventually give David some power eventually. That's the dynamic of our relationship. Do I get to hear Ella's theme song in my mind right now?
Yeah, everybody, I'm gonna astral project my theme song into your mind
Visualize a tiny woman
with an even tinier ukulele for her tiny hands.
with poofy bangs.
With the best poof hair ever.
Oh, thank you, Alexa. Take me back to the place I know with the mystery shack and the forest gnomes. I'm already packed, so come on, let's go. Don't get me started. My heart's in Gravity Falls.